Okay, we are going to call to order the special meeting of the PRCAC for a town hall, second of which discussing green waste and curbside service at 4:01 p.m. First, I'm going to see, I noticed, Mark, that you're on. Do you want us to read your email or do you want to just speak?
Oops, hold on. Am I
You're
on?
on. You're good.
Okay. Well, that would be a little weird. I guess I might as well read it myself, or at least paraphrase each point. Is that okay?
Yep, that's good. So I'm going to start with everyone who's on Zoom first today, and then we're going to go to those that are in person, and then I'm going to go to emails we've received. So seeing as you're already unmuted, Mark, would you like to start?
Okay. Are there any people in the community center there, or is it the very?
Yeah, there is. It's just you only hear them when they speak. Hold on, let me.
Yeah.
We have 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 10 plus the 3 PRCAC members.
Okay.
And
Is Pat Grubb there?
No, but I think we have a member from the paper. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I did share my comments with Pat because he had characterized it. I think he had misunderstood what you said at the last meeting, that there was an email from somebody who was generally in favor, that was basically in favor of the program. And I thought that was not completely accurate. I do like the program, but I have some suggestions to make it better. So let me just make my points that, while I'm generally satisfied with the new system in terms of the service and even the cost. And in my experience, Candu's performance or service has been, sorry about that, has been good, with one glaring exception, and that relates to when their truck broke down and they threw all our recycling in the general garbage landfill system. And that's just, to me, that's just egregious. I mean, if the truck breaks down and we have to wait 2 weeks for the next cycle to pick up the recycling, that's not ideal, but that's understandable. But to just make a decision that they're going to pick it up and throw it in the landfill is egregious, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's the county has an interest in that, or only the State Utilities Commission, but I wish the PRAC would express its displeasure with that so that it doesn't happen again. Second point is that I think there needs to be recycling available to commercial and institutional customers like the community center, the Reef, anybody else that's putting out dumpsters. There has to be some system to to separate and pick up their recycling. We've been saying that from the beginning, and it doesn't happen. There was also a need to recycle styrofoam. I understand that there's really no market for styrofoam, but even if you have to pay somebody to take it, and we, the customers, have to assume that cost, I think it's worth it. I just hate seeing the styrofoam, which never goes away, go into the landfill. And there's been a lot of discussion about green waste. We had the special program over the summer. There needs to be a routine system to collect green waste. People could buy those big, tall paper bags and put it out, and perhaps it could be counted as one of the 26 garbage can collections that we prepay on our tax bill. And speaking of the 26 collections, it's obviously more collections than most people need, especially those people that are not full-timers. But the system has been devised and calculated to give Candu the cash flow that it needs to maintain a service. And I accept that. I just think that maybe because we are a community with 75% of the property owners, 75% of the taxpayers being part-time seasonal residents, maybe the program should reflect that. And this isn't exactly my own personal self-interest, but maybe to have a little bit more of a fee-for-service system, so the minimum that we all pay for is less. And then if you need more than whatever the minimum is, say 12 cans per year, then you get billed for those extra cans. I think that would be, a fair system. And somebody needs to do a cost pricing analysis so that the net revenue to Can-Do is basically the same. And also, finally, there ought to be a system devised so that people can use their 26 trash can credits to self-haul equivalent amounts of trash to the transfer station. It probably means more work or more accounting paperwork for Can-Do, but they already track how many cans we put out, and they could figure it out. They could check off a can when you showed up at the transfer station with a can full of garbage self-hauled. That's just a matter of fairness. So those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. The next person I see on the screen is Marnie. Would you like to speak? No? Okay, so next I'll go to Bonnie Jones. Oh, does Marnie want to speak? You need to unmute yourself. Okay. All right, can we go ahead? You need to unmute.
Yep,
There we go.
Okay, actually, we didn't want to speak. We just weren't aware of the last meeting, which was, I don't know how people were informed of it, but we thought we'd just come today, just for the fact that, like the last man said, particularly the fact that we've had 7 tins in 2019, and we haven't, we had a tin the other day, basically. So
Over
we
3
have
years.
not, over the whole process of the, of the program. I just agree with him that it might be a good plan if we could, when we're down there on the 2 days that it's open, is it 2 days that the landfill's open?
Whenever
Or
they're
whatever
open.
it is, that we maybe could take a tin in. And as it is, it sits because we're not there to take it on garbage days or to bring in tins, right? So basically, it would be nice to be able to take it down to the landfill itself
And have a credit.
and have that ticked off as as one
As
of
a
our
pickup.
uses.
Yeah,
Can we get your first and last name just so we have it for the record?
The last name's Ridout.
Rideau?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, next I will go to Bonnie Jones. Would you like to speak today? Okay, seeing none. Next, I'm gonna go to, it says iPhone Barbara. Would you like to speak today?
Yep, this is Barbara. I'm not sure if there's anybody else on here from the Garden Club.
Can I just get a last name?
Barbara Armstrong.
Thank you.
At the Garden Club has had a meeting concerning the green waste because of the various problems with, not being able to dump it off, or, what do you do with it when you've got lots of it? And so we're coming out with a plan, and we're going to try and apply for a grant from the state, which looks like we should be able to do. We've also got one of the local, and I don't want to be speaking for other people, but there is a local farmer who has volunteered some of his land to act as a mulching center. The only problem is that we've really got is, besides not having any money to do this yet, but is to police it so that people aren't bringing unwanted green waste, like the poisonous hemlock, and there's a couple other plants that shouldn't be brought. But anyway, this is pretty popular, at least with the Garden Club people, because what's going on right now is the green waste is collected by Can-Do when they can take it. It's taken down to the state of Washington. There's 2 different companies apparently that process it. and turn it into mulch. They bag it, and then we can buy it at $8 a bag. So it just seems like a very inefficient, ineffective kind of a thing when a lot of our soil, we could be using our own green waste right here. So that's a proposal that we're coming up with, and we should have more information and more detail about it. One of the other things is the transportation, because some people, want to be able to dump off their green waste, and some people have no ability to do it. I have a small trailer, and I get a lot of requests for people, saying, hey, could they borrow my trailer to take their green waste to the can-do? So that's something else that we're sort of looking at is, how could we do something like that if we had some kind of volunteer system to pick up green waste to then bring it to the farm. And then the other thing is how, we could then either sell or truck the mulch to different people in the Point Roberts area to be able to use. I mean, I myself would love to have a couple truckloads of mulch. I'd like 10 or 20 cubic yards of it if I could get it. So I think there would be lots of demand for it if we had an internal system to be able to deal with the green waste.
Thank you, Barbara. Next, I'm going to go over to Kathy. Kathy, would you like to speak?
Sure. We have a cottage on Julia's Place, and our concern is we keep getting missed, our recycling. So because it's a small lane, there's quite a tight corner. They have to send a truck later in the day, and more often than not, they don't come. So right now our recycling is sitting there waiting. They never send a truck, and that truck seems to pick up the recycling. They put it all into the one spot, and I don't know if that actually truly gets recycled because all the glass, plastic, cardboard gets put in together. So that's our concern. Yeah, thank you.
Can I just get your last name, Kathy, for the record?
Sure. Yeah, it's Ells, ELLS.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, next is Annette Madden. Did you want to speak?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my issue is the mandatory arrive several, but one of the mandatory minimum of 2 cans. We've proved that that is ridiculous over and over again. When the hauler went after the ticket, he said he could do it on the customer base he had of just over 200 people. And so, we shouldn't be held to a higher standard than the rest of the state, let alone the rest of the county. Where we live over on Elizabeth, we're at the end of the route and for our pickup day, and often there is more recycling left on the street after they come and pick up than before they got there. So I would like more accountability that way, them making sure that they're not leaving litter on the road. That's about all I have. I would like to see green waste and other things for us too, but to get rid of the mandatory minimum or make it 1 can per month. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Rebecca Goodwin. Would you like to speak?
No, thank you. Just listening and observing. Thank you.
Thank you. Last one I have here online is Holden F.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, if you can just state your first and last name for the record.
Yeah, I'm Halden Field. We do need to change the garbage contract. It should be 1 can per month because that's plenty for people who don't generate gobs of trash. People who generate more than that, they can always just pay for having another can. And we've got this problem that the Canadians are subsidizing our garbage service by paying for it and then barely using it. And so I think we need to try and reduce the cost of this in order to be fair to the people who don't actually live in Point Roberts full time. We also need to have a much discounted rate for the green waste. I think it's fair to charge something for green waste because it does have to get hauled somewhere, but that shouldn't go at the same rate as landfill. Those are my main comments.
Thank you. Okay, that's everyone online. So now I'm going to go to in person, Pat Harper. You wanna, so that just everybody can see and maybe your voice will carry a little bit better.
Well, first of all, I'm a full-time resident, have been for some time, and a solid waste garbage issue works for us. We recycle everything, and styrofoam, we take the can down. I don't seem to have a problem taking styrofoam, so it must be some way to deal with it. But as far as people that don't live here full time, I'm sorry that you're having troubles meet their obligations, coming and visiting in the United States. And there's a lot of things they could probably do to make this a little smoother. The big issue I think here is,
Sorry, Pat, a lot of things we could do, need to.
for the garbage issue. But the big problem that I see is the green waste. And the county's gonna have to come up with some land where you dump this. When we have storms, you got a lot of green waste. You know, and they don't always, nature doesn't coincide with what we like. You know, you get it when you get it. We need some place to put it when we do get it. But for the most part, I'm happy with the regular garbage deal. The green waste is something else, and there's been mention of big work. So, these paper bags, you can put green waste in it, and when they come around and pick the cardboard up, they can put those in there. And they probably could prorate that because those paper bags don't equal a garbage can. But anyway, they can work on that.
Thank you, Pat. Next, I have Jane Donaldson.
Okay, I'm a full-time resident. We've been here about 20 years. And we use one garbage can every 2 weeks and are fine with that. And one thing I want to say is that a lot of people seem to think that if you cut down the number of garbage cans, you're going to cut down the amount of stuff that goes into the landfill. And I have a problem with that because to my mind, people have stuff they need to get rid of. And they've got to have something to do with this stuff. And rather than use a stick and say, you can't put that out, I like the idea of more recycling. I think people recycle when they can. And so give people the opportunity to recycle more, and then that will cut down the garbage. But to sort of hit them with a hammer is not the way I would go. But I really wanted to talk about was the green waste, which a lot of people have already talked about. And mostly, as Barbara Armstrong mentioned about the garden club meeting, we had a very interesting meeting this month at the garden club on the topic of green waste. And it was basically, there were 11 people there, and it was a discussion around the idea of the issues involved. You know, different people had different perspectives, different people had different issues. Some of them have been mentioned here. And then brainstorming, trying to come up with possible solutions. But things were mentioned like, you need space. You need, as somebody mentioned, I think it was Pat Harper last time, that you can get a big industrial chipper, but you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing so that it doesn't spit out wrong stuff and injure people and cause liability problems. Plus, you don't want tin cans and bindweed and all that stuff in there. So it was basically a good discussion with a lot of perspectives and a lot of ideas about these issues. And just hearing all the comments here, I think that the green waste would be a big win if we could do something to improve green waste. And I think there's a lot of people on the point who would be interested if the county can help by, providing funds, if PRAC could help by having a forum and getting the people together to brainstorm, basically. And maybe CANDO, one of the questions was, well, what is the problem? What is the size of the problem? And maybe CANDO could help us with how much green waste do they take away? We have a couple of local landscapers there who are also dealing with the issue. And they have problems and issues too. So it wasn't just a one-time thing that we had this year with people running out of space for the special green waste thing. It's an issue, and I think that would be a big win if we could somehow improve the green waste collection.
Thank you, Jane. Next, I have Rhiannon Allen.
Hi, I'm also a full-time resident for more than 20 years, and I'm pretty much satisfied with CANDO, with the exception of the green waste issue, because we have no way of getting green waste to the dump. But to shift gears, the Garden Club did have a really good discussion about the issue. And it had started out as a concern that the Garden Club and Garden Club members generate a lot of green waste. Some of which isn't taken to the dump for lack of transportation, for one. We also know there's a lot of illegal dumping of green waste. And so we're talking about ways not to undercut CANDO, but to deal with the green waste that actually never gets to CANDO. And we were talking about shipping and facilities and everything. And then it turns out there's this farm that's starting up in Point Roberts, where the soil is so sandy and poor, it needs organic matter added to it in order to become a productive farm. So the Garden Club will actually be running a pilot event. It would just be for Garden Club members and a couple of associates, because we do need to control what goes into this farm. We don't want like bindweed and other noxious substances. Also, we hope if it goes well with the loan of a couple of chippers, that we'll also be doing a Christmas tree chipping project later on, maybe in January. So we'll see how it goes. It's very tentative. As I said, the issue is not to undercut CANDO or tell them that this is the way it should be done, but kind of a way to explore other ways of dealing with green waste where it doesn't have to leave Point Roberts, but can stay in, some of the green waste can stay into Point Roberts. But Jane's right, we need to have a more general community-wide dialogue about green waste, because that is one thing that almost every property generates. And the current solutions, A, they can't keep up, B, it's trucked off Point Roberts, so it's not sustainable, and we just need to address some of those issues.
Thank you, Rhiannon. And I'm going to just remind everyone, when you start, if you can state your first and last name for the record, and that you are on a 3-minute time limit, no one's gone over, but just reminding everyone. Next I have is Cindy. I'm sorry, I can't read.
My writing's not good. Sorry. Cindy Bertram is my name. I hadn't planned to discuss cost today, but seeing as it has been brought up, I am one of the 75% that is seasonal here. The last 3 years, we've paid over $600 for garbage pickup. We've put up 4 cans. So I expect better service than I'm getting. What I wanted to bring forward is we can't count on our garbage being picked up. We're on one of the private roads. 4 times cans have gone out. Twice I've had to phone and say, it's the next day, our recycling is still sitting here, it's blowing around the yard now. So we might not have been there the next day, so it could have sat out there for 2 weeks blowing around the neighborhood. And pushback I got from the last one just saying, well, I guess you didn't have it out on time, it wasn't your driver's fault. So the service, I don't think is good enough. Thank you.
Next, I have Heidi Baxter.
I'm Heidi Baxter. I've been a full-time resident for over 20 years. And
Heidi, can you go to the podium just so that the owl can pick you up, please? When you're sitting down, it doesn't, yeah.
And I've been a full-time resident and a part-time resident, and I'm a self-hauler. And I've worked and gone to the community meetings from the beginning, so I've seen the process, and I've been pretty disappointed with the service provider and not finding ways to compromise with the community for self-haulers. I should have said, first of all, thank you for having this meeting. I think it is important for the community to share ideas and concerns about issues, especially when they're having to pay for it, and especially when it did not go on the ballot so that we could vote on it when we did have an opportunity to do that. And I think that was a failure of the system from the beginning and why we're still struggling with this. There are many other options. We can have curbside service, yet still have a system where the community can use our fees to pay for actual service we need, like this self-haul and green waste. And recycling, like Jane says, you guys are doing great with the garden club, taking that on at the Friday market. We have some recycling going on with the take it or leave it. If we work together under an umbrella of a community district like Little Pleasant Island has, or like our water board, we could get together more often and find solutions. Not trying to compete with Cando, we could still up the contracts up for Cando or a service provider to bid on. And offering the bid to be out to other service providers could maybe improve our services. I don't think it's a Canadian US thing. There are part-timers that are US here too, that come for just a short time, and to have to pay and not be able to use it when they're here is kind of a shame and a waste of our resources. What else good? Throughout the process, since I've gone to a lot of the meetings and been both a part-timer and a full-timer, one of the feelings I found, and sometimes this PRCAC meeting, it's great to have community, but to rely on just PRCAC to pass our voices on to the county often doesn't work or get twisted and lost in the fog. So I have county contacts to write directly. It really works. Coming to PRCAC does not, take the place of us writing directly. And South Paul writes back and things do happen. And I think this is partly why we've got this meeting today, because there was an email sent in. So it's important if anybody wants to contact or find contacts yourself, write, your voice is important. That's all I have to say. Let's work together. Maybe we get a district.
Thank you, Heidi. Next, I have Lee Morehouse.
She said my name. Lee Morehouse. I may be all over the map, so try to follow me today. I get emotional about community. And like Heidi said, I want people to work together. I really feel for you. I know what it's like calling Cando and getting excuses and arguments. And that's very discouraging because we're all on the same side. I don't want to put Cando out of business. I like the program. It needs improvement, and I hope that we could work together so that we could make those improvements. And you've heard, I think, a lot of what those improvements could be. If they asked me, if there was a problem, they didn't pick something up, I would just call them and say, you didn't pick it up, can I bring it down? I felt like I was always trying to help them out. But when I saw the green waste debacle happen, where everybody was promised free dumping of the green waste, and the ads, not all the ads explained that it was until full. I didn't see that, many people didn't see that. And It was a 2-month project. 6 weeks. 6 weeks project every 2 weeks. And people were turned away. And I saw hardships. I actually personally didn't take any of my green waste there. I was helping clients, neighbors, and friends. During the COVID epidemic, I think full-time residents like myself and others really went out of their way to help the second home owners deal with their properties. There wasn't enough professional workers to cover all the homes and what the Canadians needed. I personally was out dealing with floods, broken pipes. I was mowing lawns. I'm a contractor. We were all pitching in for the community here. And so as we go forward from that, I really had a hard time with the article that Pat Grubb put in saying you shouldn't have that much green waste if you have taken care of your property during the pandemic.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
He's arrogant.
No, that's a quote from one of our full timers here.
No, I said he's arrogant.
Yeah, and to put that in,
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna shut.
so after that, first of all, yeah, quickly, is I still want PRCAC to help us get vouchers for all the people, or at least another green waste free dumping weekend. To try to cover all the people that weren't, I mean, I saw truckload after truck, people put garbage in their U-Hauls and went down and got turned away. They put them in their trailers. It was terrible, and I really feel for them, and I made my voice known to CAMDO and PRCAC and to do. I wrote my letters, and I want some kind of apology or justice or follow through done from that program. That's one thing. So not only did I just complain or write letters or whatever, I turned around and I went to the first person that I thought could help solve the problem, and that was Steve Brisbane. Because I had talked to him a number of years ago, and he said that he would have land for us for our green waste. And he does, and he followed through and went to the garden club, and we're working on a program where we can put all of our green waste. And I want, there's so much, it doesn't compete with any of the professionals, it doesn't compete with CAMDO, and it puts all that organic material back into our soil and our home. That's it.
Is there anyone who didn't sign up to speak that would like to? And I don't see anyone new online. Okay, so seeing none, I would still ask for any community member to please email us what personally I'm hearing, from Mark and others, is that a main concern for people in Point Roberts and what's important to them is dealing with our green waste, dealing with it appropriately. I actually did a tour down in Maple Beach with the homeowners association. And of course, when he was showing me their drainage, of course, what did we find? Where he's like, oh, guess what? I get to go clean out this ditch because somebody had dumped their green waste in the ditch. It may be, I know, a proposal, I spoke to Mark Robbins about it. If there's a way that maybe we can work with the company to do something where out of your 26 cans that you can make a choice during this month through this month that you can put out
the paper bags of green waste. Have them count as one of your cans or 2 per can, however it needs to be figured out. That's not our job. That could be picked up on a recycle day behind the cardboard truck, you know. If there's a way we can work with the company where we can solve a major problem for the community and our drainage issues, fire issues, all kinds of things, because of course we all know that if you start piling up branches and other things, even, you know, on an abandoned property or in the middle of the woods, when we have dry spells like this, you've actually just created fuel for a forest fire. You know, so to me, I think this is maybe a great way for our community to come together. Like I said, at our last meeting, there seems to be 3 positions on the subject. Those who say leave it the way it is, those who say I like it, but I would like to see changes such as green waste, commercial recycling, things like that, people who don't want it at all. I think if we can come together as a community and work together with a plan and, you know, with the county and the provider, or maybe the county can go to the provider and say, hey, is there a way to pull a dump trailer behind the cardboard truck from this month to this month and track the green waste as garbage? So at least if you're someone who's here mainly in the summer, you have a way to use what you're paying for and also using it responsibly, because I do know a lot of people that did, to be able to use their cans in the summer, were putting their green waste in the garbage, which we know is not good because it creates methane buildup inside the landfill. So maybe this is the way for our community to come together on a subject that's been a little, you know, dicey at times, but that would maybe solve the majority of the problem. I don't know, that's just, you know, something for everybody to maybe think about, if this is a way that we can come together as a community and solve a problem.
I think we should just solve the problem that just happened, though. Let's try solving that first. The free green waste program that wasn't followed through on. So if we could solve that, then maybe we can think about asking the county to come and have a trailer behind. You know, it's like, let's pay attention to the one thing we have a grip on and that we can handle.
So
Shall I read Jennifer Hayden's responses?
She just says no.
the county is, so basically when it asked, will be another green waste dump, would there be an extension to it? The budget has been exhausted. The answer is no. So if you want to do, we did, Mark Robbins had sent an entire list to the county, and Jennifer, I forwarded it to Jennifer Hayden of Whatcom County Health Department. And if you want to read her responses to that for us.
So in response to Mark's comment that overall he was satisfied with one exception of glaring and serious exception, she says, I'm glad to hear that you're happy with the current system. We appreciate that it has been providing a needed service for community residents at a relatively low cost, has provided economy of scale for the operator to maintain service, and has resulted in less illegal dumping, illegal transport of garbage by residents into Canada, and less dumping of garbage into county park garbage receptacles. Then Mark goes on to say, I did not mind so much can-do, advised customers we would have to hold our recyclables for 2 weeks while they repaired their recycling trucks. Not ideal, but acceptable. But then he objects very strongly to the fact that people put their recyclables out and can-do made an arbitrary decision to put it in the landfill. Her response was, any concerns regarding the collection of curbside collection should be directed to the UTC, which regulates waste haulers. So does your UTC on there?
It's on there if anybody wants to contact us.
Okay. It also raises the question in Mark's comments. of why we don't yet have a new recycling truck. And she says, as we've all seen throughout the past 2 years, supply chain issues have wreaked havoc on many industries, and this instance is no exception. Can-Do has been actively searching for a recycling truck replacement and has run into quite a few obstacles in doing so. Because it is a very specialized vehicle, it is very difficult to source. Then regarding curbside recycling and styrofoam, she says, additional infrastructure and staffing would be required to include commercial recycling. Expanded polystyrene recycling is very expensive, and there is only one regional facility providing that service in Kent, Washington. Other barriers to offering this service are space constraints at the facility and the very high cost to collect expanded polystyrene on a relatively small scale and transport to Kent would likely deter a large percent of residents. On a related note, the state of Washington has passed a law that will outlaw expanded polystyrene beginning in 2023. And then she gives us a reference, a link for that. If you'd like, I'll send you the link. Then Mark addresses green waste and offers curbside to have curbside service in large paper bags. She says additional staff and infrastructure would be required to include curbside green waste collection. Relatedly, House Bill 1799 sets requirements for decreasing the amount of organics sent to landfill, including a requirement for offering curbside organic pickups in many areas of the state by 2027. The county and Can-Do will be coordinating to better understand the requirements and determine how they can be met. More information can be found on the Department of Ecology's website, and then she provides that link as well.
Okay, Mark, you had your hand up, seeing as that was your email.
I'm not done. Oh, but
Sorry.
go ahead, Mark.
I thought that was the last one.
No, it's about the level of service, 26 collection or 32 gallons. She says the level of service was approved by PRCAC, the UTC, and County Council during the 2-year public process. The level of service was decided upon after reviewing the results of a community survey and conferring with the UTC and Can-Do. The level of service addresses several problems that the solid waste system was experiencing previously, such as illegal dumping by residents who did not have curbside pickup and did not want to pay for garbage disposal, excessive use of the public dumpsters available at local parks, illegal transport of garbage into Canada by seasonal residents, and scale of economy for Can-Do to run a sustainable service. And then there's about the system should be devised to allow customers to pay for self-haul. And she says, this possibility was originally assessed during the 2-year public process and was determined to not be feasible. The system that is in place was unanimously approved by PRCAC to support the community and operator.
So Mark,
well, not to be too negative, because she throws out some interesting facts that styrofoam is being outlawed and they're working on issues of green waste, and it may take a few years, but we're such a small community. Repeat the comments of some others today. We really, as a community, could come together and work together and accelerate making some improvements to our system without waiting for the 2027 or whatever is required to deal with green waste. It's just such a no-brainer. I heard Pat Grubb's comments at the beginning of the last meeting. I heard Ali read Jennifer Hayden's response to PRCAC's invitation to her to participate in these meetings. And I read the response that Jennifer Hayden made to my suggestions, which Allison had forwarded to her. And, you know, it's just, the overall impression is that it's just like, no, we're not open to improving the program. The fact that PRAC supported the proposal some years ago is one thing, fine. It doesn't preclude making suggestions for improving it and expanding efforts to make Point Roberts a greener community. I'm just really discouraged by Whatcom County Health Department's sort of general just attitude. And I'm just wondering if the way forward to make just small steps to improve things locally isn't maybe for PRAC to approach and work directly with CANDO and you know, like Allison said, you know, pull a trailer behind the cardboard truck and pick up the green waste. It's cheaper. It's going to say they're going to get credit for a 32-gallon trash can, and they'll be able to dispose of the green waste at a lower cost. It's not a negative for CANDO. We just need to come to some solutions here.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I was gonna agree with you there, and, you know, creating a solution that works for the community, full-time, part-time, the company, you know, just, and the environment all the way around. I don't know, that's just me personally. Heidi?
I think you gotta remember how this all started. Going to beginning meetings, it was the health department that came to us with this pilot project. And I felt going to the meetings really pushed this through and didn't listen to the community through that process. I mean, there's many times where I was shut down, other people were shut down through that process. And the county council didn't even receive the minutes from the vote of the community when the community voted 90% against the curbside ordinance, because the person on PRAC, now an employee of CANDO, didn't submit those minutes. So there was a huge problem with that process. And I think that the health department needs to be reminded of those times and that information that was important. The committee that was started up to find solutions to lower the amounts to be more cost effective, finding self-haul solutions, which Mark also referenced was a good idea to have for many of the community members that have schedules that don't work for curbside, including the full-timers, like myself for many years, that's a self-hauler and not a curbside user. So I think it's really important. That process was very problematic. We didn't get to put it on the ballot. I actually remember Dave Glatley, when this first started, he didn't even request this new curbside service. He actually knew that a lot of the community members wouldn't go for it. And he asked right at the very beginning, would the community have to vote on it on the ballot? And the health department guy, Jeff Hedges, said, we don't have to. We could put it in as a service fee, then we don't have to put it on the ballot.
Yeah.
That alone is wrong, and is why we're still struggling with this. The county, St. Paul, the health department needs to be reminded there was problems with that process. We need self-haul option as well, please.
No, I think it is important to remember that we were a pilot project for all of Whatcom County, because we are the only one in unincorporated Whatcom County that does have this system. And as a pilot project, usually this is what we do, is we're supposed to, after a few years, we're all supposed to sit down as a community, talk about it, what we like, what we don't like, what we'd like to see changed, how we can tweak it, how we can make it better. Because again, no one wants to see us back in how we were when we didn't have a provider at all.
And it was a fiscal year, not a full calendar year that they did the pilot program. One was 6 months and the next one was a year.
No, it's always been a year. It was all of 2019. The project started January 2019.
Yeah, Allison, that's what bothers me so much about this attitude I detect from Jennifer Hayden's communications to you and And in response to my comments, I mean, it's just, maybe it's just my radar is off a little bit, but you know, it is sort of a pilot project. We did hear that the county would really like to implement systems similar to ours throughout the county. Why are they so resistant to looking at tweaking the system? We're not trying well, most of us, many of us, myself certainly, are not trying to reverse the whole system and abolish the mandatory curbside collection. We just want to make Point Roberts a greener community, improve the recycling, and make it fair to all of the taxpayers, recognizing that we're a community where 75% are not full timers. It's just a matter of looking for a more fair system.
Agreed. I think though that's why, because of the email we received from the health department, I'm a little bit more apt to say we take the PRCAC, take everything that we've brought in at the last two meetings, the emails, and we try and start with the company and say, okay, here's the ideas from the community. You know, green waste is a huge thing. Here's an idea that we've come up with. You know, your other ideas of, you know, is there a way? I know in the beginning they said, no, you couldn't use it as credits at the transfer station, but would that be possible? But to have that discussion with them, one of the members of the PRCAC, have them have that and see where we can get, because then if that can all be kind of worked out, well, then it's the community and the company going to the county to say, can we amend this so that we can hopefully put this to bed forever.
I've got a couple more comments.
Oh, sorry, who is that?
This is Halden Field.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I joined, I didn't have my notes, but I wanted to say a little bit further about the green waste program, that this is going to be something which is going to grow, because that there is an effort to help residents become aware of the risk of wildfire getting to their houses. That started, and because people are becoming more aware of the tremendous wildfire risk we have at Point Roberts, they are going to be putting some more effort towards reducing that fuel. So we really need to have some way of getting that green waste in a place where it's not just going to burn like it is now. And I'm really glad the Garden Club is thinking about this and figuring out if there's some way that could be done actually in Point Roberts. Another matter is the recycling. The announcement from the recycling provider says no tubs. Now, that means things which, as I understand, means the containers that tofu comes in, yogurt, cottage cheese, margarine, all sorts of things that come in plastic tubs, they won't take it. And so I think that the requirement on the provider needs to say something that all plastic containers that food comes in have to be picked up, and they have to figure out how they're going to do it. And what's actually in the requirements to the provider needs to be made available to the public so that we can hold them to it. Maybe they actually are required to pick up all this stuff and it's just inconvenient, and so they've told us they're not going to pick that stuff up.
For 1 second, they do pick that up, because I actually I'm a bad girl. I fill a 32-gallon garbage can full of plastic every 2 weeks. And they take sour cream containers, yogurt containers, all of that is acceptable. When they're talking about tubs, they're talking about like the black gardening plant tubs and things of that nature are not eligible for recycling. But all of the containers.
Okay, then their communication is awful then, because they just say tubs. And so they need to make it clear what is and isn't acceptable. And if you're not allowed to take tubs which are used for gardening purposes or something like that, I think that's fair because that's not something that's actually widely used. But to say no tubs and then only people who are in the know that that doesn't apply to tubs of the food variety, that's just inappropriate. So they need to improve the communication, and somehow that needs to be levied as a requirement to them that they have to make clear communications. Then the other one is about they. At one point, they picked up my cardboard and threw it into the garbage truck. And I asked them what's going on. They're taking it to the landfill. That should be illegal. That should be prohibited in the contract. And if they've got some problem with their recycling truck, they need to sort out a solution. They need to have backups, whatever it takes. We should not be putting recycling into the landfill. Another possibility is if they're going to do that, then they get fined. And they get fined at such a high rate that it actually is worth their while to look for a solution rather than just decide not to do it because it's inconvenient. And the other comment is, as this was being developed, I did have some correspondence with Jeff Hedges, and I learned that a big reason that they want this for Point Roberts is so that they can collect the excise tax on curbside recycling. When self-haulers bring their stuff in, the health department doesn't get to collect an excise tax on that. And so they need to have that funding for their department. And one way to do that is to require that we have curbside recycling and curbside pickup and have that required for everybody so they can collect more tax on more revenue. Sorry, I talked fast. I hope I haven't bored anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Holden. Barbara, you have your hand raised.
Yep, sorry, it took me a minute there to get it unmuted. Just as a little comment about CANDO, if we're writing this grant application for a pilot, getting more information about just how much green waste CANDO actually transports would be really valuable. So, you know, some of this data would be good. I'm going to be trying to benchmark other communities that not necessarily in Washington, just to try to get some better numbers for, you know, community type green waste. I'm also, you know, had been living in Los Angeles and in the Bay Area, especially in Los Angeles. Wow, they really fine you as soon as they find out that you've got any kind of, you know, brush or piles of green waste. You get fined by the sheriff for leaving stuff around. So hopefully we don't come to that, but you know, this summer has been very California style summer, and this whole place could go up in a big bonfire, and that would not be good.
I'm going to ask something of the board, since we discussed that a member of the board should maybe reach out personally one-on-one to the company to discuss some of the things that we've heard here. I would suggest that we ask very nicely of the garden club for one of their members to join us in that discussion, because that might be totally beneficial, because if it's for the farm, if it then would keep the green waste that actually goes to the transfer station, could then be taken to a facility here locally instead of it getting trucked out of here completely. It might be win-win for everybody. What do you think of?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we have a board meeting on November 4th.
Okay.
We can select somebody to be the liaison.
Okay.
Yeah, because the point is not, there's more green waste generated in Point Roberts than CANDO can handle. So our aim is not to cut into things, but maybe work with them or with the rest of the community. Just handle the sheer volume of green waste here in a safe manner.
Well, what I'm thinking though is if we can work out something to where it is amenable to the company, it's amenable to the county, where we could do something where they're picking up green waste in the brown bags and behind the cardboard, you know, in a trailer during the summer for those people. Well, then, instead of them taking them up to the transfer station to then get hauled out of here, they could haul them to the farm site.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
But like, I'm just saying that there's these options that could help the community, help the company, help the environment, because not everybody wants to haul their green waste to a site, not everybody wants to haul it to the transfer station. That's why they throw it in their garbage cans. They don't want to leave it on their property, that this might, you know, be a huge community effort and help a farm out at the same time. So,
It seems like it makes a lot more sense to put energy into solving our own problems. It's like I'm sitting here thinking, what do you do with the health department? Do you call the fire marshal and have him put pressure on the health department?
Yeah.
That's to me is the next step, but
so before we continue on, I want to make a motion that Mr. Bill Zidell is our liaison as vice chair to meet with Garden Club and also arrange to,
Go talk to the guys over in Camden.
yes.
Why do you send the guy from Jersey want to talk to somebody about
Yeah,
golf? I mean, I get a couple of boys. Listen, I get Joey, I get Joey and Frankie and Mike. to come over and
Well,
stuff.
don't you have a lot of experience dealing with waste?
Well, I call Ralphie Ferrara, he come over, we get there, tomorrow we take care of the green ones.
Send in the New Jersey guy. Yeah.
Forget about
To
it.
me, you're the person
I
sitting
got it, I got it.
with the banking
I
background.
know, but also, you know, I understand.
So we're
Look,
talking about financials and making everything make sense for everyone.
everybody, the thing
Yeah, yeah.
that gets me is in Thurston, okay? I spent 22 years in Thurston County. Now they
Hold
have.
on a second. I made a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't want him to get out of it before I finished.
So in Thurston, they had, used to have the dump, okay, and then they start hauling the stuff down to the gorge. You know, they put it in the big, cans, or I call them pigs, cans. And they take them over, put them on the train, take it down to the gorge. And you see it sitting sometimes in Everett or wherever the hell it is. But that's how we did it in Thurston. We had 3 cans. You had a blue can, a green can, and you had your regular garbage can, and they were all plastic, and they had state-of-the-art. I never saw the guy. You know, we sat in the truck, pushed the button, they would come over, pick up the can, dump it. You put all of your waste in one can, everything recycled except glass in the other recycle can. You had a separate little container that a guy would come around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, pick up the glass. And it was up to you. But for $40 a can for green waste, I'd have the cans delivered and they dump them at the front of the house. 55-gallon drums with the plastic lids, you know, the real fancy clip ones. And you can fill those up. And I've had it sometimes 3 or 4, but I was paying $40 a month to use those. And then when you were done, you knew it went to the transfer station because they had you could take recycle, which was grass, wood, stuff like that. You could take untainted wood, in other words, plain wood, wood with no stain, no paint and everything. That all went and they stuck it in this big, I called it the cyclone. It's about 50 feet wide. It's a big circle and you just threw stuff into it and out the back end came mulch. They'd haul that mulch out of their trucks day after day. I mean, we made more mulch in Thurston County than know what to do with it. Then there was the garbage, but the regular garbage, it was that went down to the gorge. And then the recycle, we had an army. And when I mean an army, that's why I knew it never penciled out. Because everybody in Thurston was paid a living wage. So you had guys sorting garbage that were making $50,000, $60,000 a year with pensions better than anybody in the room here. And they were sorting out plastic, paper, and whatever, the whole McGill. But that's how, and that's why, you know, I want to sit down with Kendall and say, hey, listen, I got it. I know that a new garbage truck is like 2 or 3 large. For those that don't understand large, that's Jersey talk for about 300,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's about what it is. You know, fire engines are 500 large. These are 300 large, 200 large. So you maybe even want to get to that point where it's like, okay, how do we do that? Where do we bring that? And you don't have the facility here because Thurston's transfer station was as big as Point Roberts. And that's when I say the economies of scale and so on. It was a processing plant.
But how many people was it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You had an army. I mean, checking in and checking out.
But how many customers were they
Oh,
serving?
you had Thursday.
Yeah, how many? Hundreds of thousands.
You had at least 100,000.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. When you look at an operation and you say, geez, how much or what would I like to do? You always have that thing where you have, geez, I want to do this. Well, then you take the number of people using it, it costs this much. And it's always good, like you said, when you have the same service and it's 100,000 divided by, instead of say 500 or whatever the hell it is. And that's the way you kind of figure it. It's like, the old concept of running a hot dog stand. From I sell one hot dog or 500 hot dogs, it's going to cost me the same. And it's going to cost everybody the same. As soon as I sell 501 hot dogs, that cost is going to go up. And I'm going to then have to spread the cost out until I sell 1,001 hot dogs. So, there's always a fixed expense. And part of that is what can do is, and I see they're doing it, it's variable. You always have fixed. You got to turn the lights on. You got to pay a BO tax. You got to do this. And there's a plethora of things that you do. So I'll be happy to sit down. I've already talked to, I want to talk, I think the chief's wife is the CFO, right? So I'll sit and talk to her. I'm an old banker. You said, I think I'm sitting with CPAs. I'm like, oh God, okay. So I can just understand, but I just want to, it's a fine line, but there's an expense involved. And you got to balance volunteer or what, you could get back from altruism. And at the same time, what's it going to cost for 1.2 or 2.2 or 3.2 FTEs, whatever it is. So that's the kind of dance you got to do.
No, we won't know until.
You don't know, so you go ask for.
You never know
Well, I go ask for a kiss. Let's see what happens.
Well, like I said, if they might find that it makes sense to
That's the
pull a
point.
trailer because it's gonna save them, it's not gonna cost them any more money and actually might save them some money if we can work
And
things
they're
out.
selling it.
Right.
But they're selling it.
So if you have someone, if they hire somebody else that actually goes in a company and makes those decisions, that would be great. But the resistance is overwhelming.
Well, sometimes you just gotta sit down with a coffee and Danish and figure stuff out, you know what I'm saying? If you can't figure it out, then there's something really wrong. So you sit down, a coffee and Danish and say, hey, how can we do this? Okay? That's
How many years is wrong?
I have a.
Well, water under the bridge. I don't live, I know I got a rear view mirror. I look sometimes and go, oh shit, that's wrong. But at the end of the day, we're gonna see what
Well,
we can do.
I'm really glad it's
Okay.
you and you're the liaison and you're going, because in the meantime, the rest of us are gonna set up a green waste program.
That's fine.
But this is where I want to work together. I don't think we're all in agreement
Yeah,
about this.
and I think there should be a green waste because quite frankly, I don't need a fire marshal come around my next door neighbor to
Right.
know that if anything happens next door, my house burns down.
Good.
Doesn't burn, I mean, it burns down, but you're gonna see it on the point, you go anywhere. You get a fire going on this point, you'll burn the whole fucking point down.
Okay, I have someone online,
Okay,
and
That's it.
Marty hand raised.
Yes, I would just like to know if you have the email address that we can contact you with anything that hasn't been brought up today.
PRCAC period comment @gmail.com.
I have a question. What is the average person in Bellingham? Anybody know, what do they do with their green waste?
So it depends on if you're talking about within the city of Bellingham.
City of Bellingham.
In the city of Bellingham, they have what's called Food Plus. So you have your garbage can, you have your recycling, and then you have your Food Plus bin.
Your food waste bin is where you put your green waste, food waste, pizza boxes, anything
Food
like.
boxes,
Yeah,
not the-
any food
no wax
boxes.
box,
No wax.
just food
Um,
boxes.
So, and it goes on the,
Yeah.
in the city.
What happens to the food plus? What happens? to the
It
content?
goes into a specialized truck, then goes to, I think it's called Green Works, on the edge of Ferndale, Linden. Where they pay, anybody can actually go to Green Works Linden. I think it's 5 cents a pound to dispose of there, and then they mulch it and compost it and sell it as.
They sell it, most of these sell it because they mix it with, and gives a little more body to it, is they mix it with untreated wood.
So it's fertilizer?
It could be used as fertilizer, it could be used as almost anything, because it's organic.
And that's where everything in Bellingham goes, and it's actually where, when I was, talking to Lautenbach, that's where they haul a lot of the stuff from Skagit County, goes actually up to the Ferndale Linden facility. The green waste recycling.
I have another comment too about the, like the free dump days. It was kind of a little leading that you could just go there, and if you didn't kind of think about it or figure it out or guess that, like maybe something would fill up before the 4 o'clock time limit was. I think they said, if I remember correctly, there was like, you could dump it between a certain time. And I remember people like driving towards the transfer station, and I knew that they weren't taking it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And also it's the same way, I felt sorry for those people because they filled up their truck and they were driving there. And also, I think it was the same way with the free day for, to dump off household chemicals too.
Yeah, so the one that was the household chemicals is important to know, that actually had zero, nada, nothing to do with Canby. That was Whatcom County, they just set up in the public works yard at the transfer station. That is Whatcom County personnel, and I don't know if they got full, because they usually take it out on boat by boat. So that's the only way, so they can't take it through Canada, they actually take it out of here on a boat. So I don't know if they just had too much to put on the boat, or it could have been, I don't know what the weather was like that day, that maybe they just had to get out of Dodge, but that was Whatcom County Health Department.
Well, so everybody here is pre-warned when there's a situation like that, beware that it's gonna close down at a certain time. Like, you're aware of this already, I'm sure, or you talked about it earlier, that, like, when a dumpster fills up, and it's filled up, and then
So then they need to open it up another Saturday and cover everybody. You can't have it free for some people and then not for others. Their dumpster had enough room that next day for people to dump and then to charge.
And the problem is that the people that are taking that stuff, it just ends up in the garbage. So.
I don't know about that.
Well, no, I will say that I know 100% for sure that the bin that is at the transfer station that is for green waste gets picked up by Lautenbach, and it is taken to a separate facility. It does not go with the garbage. It goes to the recycling facility. I spoke to
No, I'm
Lautenbach.
talking about hazardous waste. People have it, and it's small enough that it can go in the garbage. That's what I'm saying.
But that's people being bad.
Well,
That's your neighbor being bad. If they're
Yeah.
putting something that's hazardous
Okay.
waste into their garbage. That has nothing to do with the county, that has nothing to do with the company, that has to do with somebody being a bad person.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they can't take it to a place that says that it's free, and they get, they say, well, we're full, well, what are they gonna do with it? Some people will save it for the next year and hope that it goes. Most people will just throw it in the garbage in a year.
Well, that would be a suggestion that I would have, is requesting that we have more than one hazardous waste a year.
Yeah.
Having one a year does not make a whole lot of sense. There should be one in the spring as soon as they can vote over. and boat back safely, and then one at the end of the summer, again, when they can boat back and forth safely. That having 2 a year is, I think, reasonable for the community, because, you know, you go out and you start doing stuff in the spring and you end up with empty containers or paint or whatever, and then at the end of the summer, you've been doing stuff all summer and you end up with empty
But if
containers
they
again.
only do it once a year, they need to do it and collect everything.
I think it could be the
You know,
possibility
they should
that,
have, if nothing else, they should have a container there that they can store it and make another trip on another time and take it. But they shouldn't advertise that they're collecting hazardous waste, that people are gonna collect, and then run the risk that people are just gonna put it in the garbage.
yes, but you can't ask the company to have.
No, this isn't the company.
Okay, no, I'm saying that it would be on the property in which the company is leasing,
Oh,
in which there would be a container of hazardous waste.
I think,
You know, we haven't had this happen before. I think probably what did happen is that people got back, they went through and cleaned up sheds and this, that, and the other, and things that they might have actually been still using under normal times was sitting in a shed. Well, now the can is rusted.
well, we had
So they
2
wanna get
years
rid of it.
stuff to collect.
yeah, so.
But, you know, I think it's,
Yeah.
I think we take out of this that we just say, hey, once
or
a
three
year is
times.
not gonna be enough.
2 or
Can we
3
do
times.
this? You know, because I understand they have to vote
Yeah, and
spring, end of spring.
2 or 3
end of
times
summer.
they should, during the year, it's something that can be discussed and
Yes.
talked about, because it's something that's just called planning. And both of these instances where you ran out of time, ran out of effort and stuff, is you had a couple of them, and nothing malicious, but it's just poor planning and poor, you know, it's like, oh, poor management. That's what it was. So somebody needed to look and say, listen, people have been around for 2 years. What's gonna happen? It's gonna fill up. Same thing with chemicals. And I think if you present the solution, that if you could pick up chemicals 3 times a year and just bring it over there, I don't think they'd be adverse to that, because what do they want? If they want it in the ground, if you want it, I mean, you know, I look at Camp Lejeune, there's a bunch of lawyers that can get pretty rich for people drinking benzene in the water system. So the last thing you want to do is have these kind of things, and then plus if you put it in the ground.
Didn't we just hear that they don't have the money?
No. At the end of the day, the county?
The budget for the green waste program was exhausted.
We're talking
That particular.
But that's the same department, that's the health department.
Yes, but
both
their
are
toxic
there.
waste program is a totally separate
Right.
program.
But it's still the health.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if somebody says they don't have money, say, okay, what's your solution? Because like you said, you sit down at the table and say, okay, what do you got money for? What do you got money for if you don't have it for that? Okay, what are you using it for, Miss Health Department? Okay, and then you say, I'd like to have 3-time pickup. How difficult is that? For an 8-hour day? You come in the morning, you leave at night. Take the chemicals so it doesn't end up in the ground.
With the hazardous waste, we had a glut. I mean, we had people who moved, we had so many
Yes.
people move and sell houses, and there was a glut. I mean, I don't think the
Yeah.
hazardous waste is like that every time.
No, but
This time it just happened to be a glut. You can't
yeah, I know, it's
on the basis. Based on
Right.
that.
right, it's just like with the green, with the
Yeah.
blood of the
So-
green waste.
So if we say, we want it three times, we're gonna find the money
Yeah.
that they say they don't have right now.
So.
Okay, just, this is
No,
common
it's,
sense.
so, but what you need to understand is, but inside the health department,
Right,
there are different divisions of
Right,
the health department.
okay.
Each different division has their own pool of money. And each division also has access to Department of Ecology funds, depending on what we're talking about. So the green waste program and the hazardous waste program are 2 different divisions, 2 different budgets.
Okay,
So,
let's see the budgets. Let's see the numbers. I want to see the numbers for the green waste program. I
So
asked
they-
for them.
Welcome to coverage.
they've allocated, they're like $10,000 or whatever it was for it, for the green waste program. What I can give you is I can tell you how much we pay per year in solid waste excise taxes from curbside to Whatcom County.
How much?
I have it in my computer at home. I can tell you what it is.
Oh, I figured that was a T.
Sorry.
I bet you had it in your-
It's a percentage. Well, if anybody had their bill in front of them, I think it works out to, what is it, like 90 cents or something like that per month? You just gotta do the math, 90 cents, if it's 90 cents per month, times 12 months, times 1,935, it's about $21,000. So,
I made a flippant comment about welcome to government, but if you can identify an issue, this is a budget issue.
Yeah.
Then you'll have to go to somebody's bosses and point that out, because that's what happens with government funding. People don't, they want to spend their budget, but they're not gonna share it with anybody. And, you run into a whole issue of that.
well, it's very similar to, we were discussing at our last meeting about how there was free workshops through other areas of Whatcom County for learning about your septic, like how to maintain it and all this kind of fun stuff. But there's nothing offered here. So we're going to request that we can have one of those workshops. If they say, no, we don't have money for you, first response is, well, what is the $25,000 a year that you get off our property taxes for OSS go to? Could we use some of that for somebody to come up a couple of days? If not, we're going to go and use inside of our community. We have 3 OSS specialists and ask them to throw a couple of workshops for the community if we can't, but of course, we'll ask.
Which should get paid for.
But say, what does the $25,000 OSS fee go to every year? Other than, maybe you should come and educate people on how to maintain their septic system. Because again, that's a health concern. No less than garbage is a health concern to people.
And it's a fire concern.
But your septic is a health concern. It's just one of those things, but if we know the numbers, if you were here at our last meeting, that was for Sunday. Like I said, I'd like to know where a lot of our money goes. $1.7 million per year to Blaine School District. There's only 40 kids that go, and I can tell you my son's not getting that kind of education.
Yeah, right? And I did that. I figured out per capita, and I go, my God, you guys could be going up, sending you all to Harvard.
We don't even have a turnout bus if my son wanted to be in any sports or anything like that. One of us would have to figure out how to drive 5 days a week to Bellingham for him to do any of that. For drama and everything else, he does woodworking, welding, so he's building sets. I work with other parents to pick him up because we don't have a turnout bus. But yet our community gives $1.7 million to the Blaine School District. These are questions I would like to know. $700,000 a year to the Whatcom County Road Fund. What are we getting for $700,000 a year for the Whatcom County Road Fund?
That's why some people suggested that we should incorporate.
We don't have enough people.
San Juan.
We don't have enough people to be incorporated.
No, San Juan Islands.
I don't want to be part of an island.
No, I'm just saying.
You think it's bad enough to get help from Whatcom County that we can drive through to get? Let's be part of an island community that we can't get to in any shape, manner, or form.
Suggested that we do it like San Juan Islands.
But I'm just saying, I think as a community, we're showing that we can more and more come together. Everybody sat here today. We have difference of opinions. What I'm finding, we're coming together with a lot of the same solutions. And I think we can do that with a lot of things. And I want to just thank every single person who emailed, every single person who's here. That I really appreciate the fact that it does seem like the majority now, we're coming to the compromise, we're coming to the middle, and we're trying to find solutions that are going to work for everybody.
Well,
and I'd like to see more people at our on our agenda, talking about the property tax statements that everybody just received.
Allison,
for their
it's
house.
a two-way street.
So
Allison, it's a two-way street. Before we had, people like you representing us that had their own agenda. And they would listen, but if it didn't coincide with what they had as an objective, then it was discarded. The same way as we're getting a response from Jennifer. But it's basically no. So
everyone's willing to have, I'm one of those people, I will listen to everyone's opinion. And everyone here knows at the beginning, 4 years ago with the garbage, I was 100% zero zilch, not I don't do it, even though I had curbside. I now, in talking to multiple people throughout the community, you know what? I'm not right. The people who said this was perfect, guess what? They weren't right either. The answer is usually in the middle. And if we can all sit down like grown adults, have the conversation, listen to each other's sides, we are more likely than not going to find a solution that everyone, not everyone, at least 90% can say, you know what? I can live with that. That actually makes sense. It helps me, it helps my neighbor, and it's good for my community. The answer is usually in the middle. And that's why I want to have these discussions, because everybody has something to say, and 100% of what your idea might not be it. But one thing could be like, hey, you know what, that's a great, we could incorporate that into this, and then it just starts going. And then we build on it, and we build on it. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to argue and fight and act like we're in kindergarten. We're supposed to be grown adults that sit down and work together and try and find a solution that's going to work for everyone. Are we going to make everybody 100% happy? No. But if we don't do it, I'm telling you right now, Whatcom County is not going to do it for us. So, sorry, that's my spiel.
That's for so.
And you only have to put up with me for another year after this year.
What? No, we have to fix that.
2023 will be my last year, and then I must sit off of PRCAC for 4 years. You're only allowed to do 4 years.
Oh.
And because I came in covering for someone else, my term is only 3.
Oh, no.
So, like I said, y'all got only put up with me for another year.
Are you gonna list all the things people said and just send to the county?
I've got.
She has all the notes. Bill's gonna talk to the company. He's gonna work with the garden club. We're gonna come up with some ideas, hopefully have a great conversation with the company.
Yeah.
And then we can, you know, we send all of our notes to the county executive.
So everything we told you will get sent to the county?
Yeah, it goes,
All the ideas.
it goes all into the minutes and everything, and those all get sent in.
The email that you sent is in this document, as well as some very abbreviated notes, because I'm not a great note taker, but I hit the high.
Yeah, and Mark suggested about having a self-call solution.
Mark's entire email, which
Yeah,
was,
it's all.
that already went to the health department.
Yeah. Because I think, because the other thing you talk about, how do you combat the health department's reply? You write the county councils that call, and they put pressure on, hey, we're getting this. Not just us putting pressure on them, that way the county councils that call also puts pressure on the health department to get our needs met, because they're the representatives really for us. Like, you guys are just private, right? But our real representatives that are elected, their proper representatives are our county council and St. Paul, right? So they're the ones that can put pressure on that health department.
Well, yeah, I'd like to hear from PRAC at some point what their approach is to the health department.
Well, right now, we will be sending everything, of course, our notes and everything will go to Jed Holmes and St. Paul City. Emails that have had questions have been forwarded to Jennifer Hayden at the health department.
And we'll write a letter that summarizes all of these documents and the conversations, town halls, and that will go to St. Paul and the health department.
As well as,
So it's not really what you're saying, we're representing what you're saying. That's,
yeah,
you know, we do get to make a recommendation based on what we hear, but the most important thing is for us to represent you. And we can summarize that,
But it's also important for people to write directly as well, right? That's important, because that doesn't take, your job is not taking the place of that.
it eventually all comes back to us.
Yeah.
You know, you send your emails and they send them back to us.
Yeah.
So.
But they also reply to me, like I've sent them, they reply to me, we talk, just like the newspaper talks to them, they, you know, it doesn't all get to you guys, right? Because it's really important that we don't lose that. It's really important that you guys actually don't take the place of county council, that we still have a direct communication to make sure that our voice doesn't get fogged or messed up.
Yeah, I guess I can argue that there are pros and cons to that, because one of the big ruses that the county uses is that we can't ever agree on anything.
Precisely.
Yeah, but that's their problem in all the communities,
Can I
right?
finish, please?
Yes, yeah.
So the more disparate email opinions that arrive in emails makes us look, again, not united, not having a consensus. So my preference would be that people would write to us and we would send that on. They still get all of the information.
They don't. This is what happened in the beginning of why PRCAC failed in this whole garbage process in the beginning, because they didn't get the message.
Well,
it is important we do write to record.
Well, that's your opinion.
It's not an opinion. They are our elected representatives. They have a responsibility to this in other communities too. You don't take the place of county council. And I think that was what Pat Craig was trying to say in the news thing.
We lost our individual representation when they changed the, you know, they threw it in the bushel and said, okay, you're out.
Well, they're trying to,
but we used to actually have a representative at the council, but they changed that.
I think it's important because I think, you know, that needs clarity because that's getting confused. And other lawyers are saying the same thing. You guys don't take the place of that.
I'm not arguing that, Heidi. I'm just saying that the county uses it against us. That we have, there are so many different opinions and they get.
But they still.
Okay, so I'm gonna interject for just 1 second. Every person in Point Roberts has the right and the ability to contact St. Paul Sadu, County Council, Health Department, PDS, Public Works. That is your right. You can.
Yep. It's the normal way in most of the communities.
Hold on, don't interrupt me. The PRCAC is a liaison to the county executive and to the county council, because historically, all the county gets is people emailing, complaining. The PRCAC is basically supposed to be, we're the complaint department. They created the PRC, they want us to be the complaint department. They want the community to bring their complaints to us. And then we are supposed to work with the community to say, okay, this is the problem. Now, what are the solutions that are possible to fix it? Because Jack Lahouse, St. Paul Sadu, both said the exact same thing to me. Do not come to me with problems. Come to me with a solution. If you come to me with a problem, my answer is going to be, I don't have the staff, I don't have the time. If you come to me with a community problem, and you come to me with possible solutions to fix your problem that the community can agree upon, well, then I can help you.
Okay, can I comment on this? As you know, I've had experience with previous PRCACs where we have brought the problems and solutions to them, and it did not get relayed to county. So when I met with, let me finish. when I listen to you summarize what's going on here, I hear you talking about green waste, but I also heard other people, including Mark, talk about a solution for self-haulers. Not once did I hear in your summary, when you were talking over and over again, a solution for self-haulers. It wasn't coming up because your perspective maybe doesn't include that. And my
Actually,
concern,
Heidi, if you watch the video back,
yeah,
what I said is for Bill to have a discussion about the green waste and possibilities for people to self-haul with credits.
okay, well, I never heard that, so I'm concerned because of my previous experience. If that's the case, thank you.
If I may, since I've been nice and quiet, I'll try to, I'm the secretary for the group. You will, these minutes will show everything, every email to the best of our ability, everything that we've heard. So all of that will get sent to the county. We understand that we're not the county council. We also understand we're not you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're neither one, and we understand that, accept that.
I've got trust issues with
I understand
from previous years,
Okay.
this
The-
ongoing
The
situation.
minutes will be approved, hopefully, at our next meeting, which in November.
Yeah.
And at that time, I mean, that'll be, it's a public document. We'd be delighted, if you need it, we'll send it to you. If there's something that you believe that's
Missing?
totally incorrect, then please let us know and we'll work on it.
You
Okay?
mean, well, I'll keep writing directly as well as talking to you.
Whatever you want to do
Yeah.
is fine with us.
Yeah.
Okay? We're not telling you what to do.
Yeah.
We're telling you what we are gonna do.
Yes.
I have one request for the 2 years during COVID, that I think the Canadians should receive vouchers of unused cans. Or whoever has second homes, whoever couldn't cross the border to get to their houses and use their properties.
I get it, and I also know that there's capacity issues. So if everybody all of a sudden used all of their unused credits all at one time, they'd be overrun.
Well, there has to be some parameters.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else?
Thank you again, PRCAC.
Please come
Thank
to,
you.
please come to our meetings. Please show up at the meetings. Makes us happy to see you, and we really do want to represent the community.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.